In a world where shadow brokers lurk, concealed in plain sight, a boy yearns to become the ultimate mastermind. Meet Sid, a seemingly ordinary person with an extraordinary dream. Determined to control everything from behind the scenes, he dedicates countless nights to honing his skills in secret. Yet fate has different plans for him. A tragic accident shatters his ambitions in the mundane reality he once knew. But just as all hope seems lost, Sid awakens in a parallel realm, now the head of a secret organization. He realizes that he can become what he always wanted to be in this world. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. Akane Nishino is a famous actress and good student who is friendly with her classmates. Her behavior around them is a front she uses to conceal her own anger and bitterness, left behind in the wake of an incident in which a fan of hers kidnapped and molested her. She despises everyone around her, classmate Minoru Kijano in particular. He barely acknowledges her existence and seems to struggle to even remember her name. He is briefly shown to carry weights in his bag and clothing to increase his strength. Nishino is kidnapped by criminals who intend to ransom her, but they are interrupted by Kijano, who is disguised as a masked vigilante calling himself Stylish Ruffian Slayer. The criminals refuse to take him seriously at first, but quickly acknowledge him as a dangerous brawler, capable of defeating whole gangs by himself, known to them as the Balaclava Berserker, when they witness him dual-wielding crowbars. Slayer defeats both men and frees Nishino, who suspects that Kageno is responsible for her rescue. A few days later, Kageno is abruptly hit by a truck and killed. Through flashback, Kageno explains that for his entire life, he wanted to become a secret mastermind manipulating society from the shadows to protect the innocent, to be like the fictional heroes he looked up to, and relentlessly trained in martial arts in the hopes that he might one day be as powerful as a nuclear bomb. In death, Kageno laments that no matter how hard he trained or how much he tried, achieving such a level of power was functionally impossible, as the laws of physics impeded him, rendering him an ordinary human no matter what he did. Having died, Kageno finds himself reborn in an alternate world with magical powers and rededicates himself to his desire to manipulate and control society under the cover of darkness as the eminence in shadow. In a new world, Kageno assumes the identity of Sid Kagenu, son of minor nobles Baron and Lady Kagenu in the Kingdom of Midgar. He continues his secretive training and vigilante activities, eliminating bandits. One day, he encounters a cursed living blob of flesh, which he manages to cure, revealing an elven girl. Pretending to be the eminence in shadow, Sid weaves a tale, convincing the girl that she is descended from ancient heroes who defeated the demon Diablos, now sought by a cult for resurrection. Naming her Alpha, he enjoys her belief in the fabricated story. 3 years pass, and Claire, Sid's sister, is kidnapped. Alpha, now leading a group called Shadow Garden with 6 other girls, discovers the truth about Claire's abduction by the cult of Diablos. Sid, still oblivious to the cult's existence, leads the attack, assuming they are merely bandits. The battle unfolds, and most of the cultists are defeated. Claire escapes during the chaos, unaware of Sid's involvement, and heads to Midgar Academy. Later, Alpha and the other shadows reveal their departure to Sid, who remains clueless about the actual events. Unbeknownst to him, Alpha's devotion to the made-up cause was real all along. The episode comes to an intriguing conclusion, setting the stage for further adventures in the world of the eminence in shadow. The Shadow Seven embark on a mission to hunt down the cult across the world, leaving Sid to believe they've grown tired of their role-playing. He enrolls at Midgar Academy, keeping a low profile, and befriends 2 ordinary boys, Skell and Poe. In a twist of fate, Sid is forced to publicly confess his love to Princess Alexia as a punishment for a failed test. Surprisingly, she agrees to be his girlfriend, but Sid soon realizes she plans to use him for revenge against her fiancé, Xenon, the royal fencing instructor. Aware of Alexia's manipulations, Sid agrees to continue the charade for money. Over time, Sid discovers Alexia's insecurities about her sword skills, often overshadowed by her sister Iris, who is a superior fencer. Despite this revelation, Sid appreciates Alexia's unique approach to swordsmanship, infuriating her. Their fake relationship eventually ends when Xenon accuses Sid of kidnapping Alexia after she disappears. Caught in a dangerous predicament, Sid faces the consequences of his actions as the episode reaches a thrilling climax. With a captivating mix of deception and suspense, The Eminence in Shadow continues to deliver an exciting storyline filled with unexpected twists and turns. Locked in a cell, Alexia's blood is stolen by a cult scientist claiming it holds demon DNA. Meanwhile, Sid endures torture but feigns weakness, maintaining his role-playing act as a cool NPC. After 5 days, Princess Iris orders his release. Alpha returns to update Sid on Shadow Garden's growing influence and their plan to rescue Alexia. Oblivious to Shadow Garden's true power, Sid plays along, believing Alexia was kidnapped by corrupt knights. In a massive attack, Sid eliminates the torturous knights while his army searches for Alexia. The cult scientist injects Alexia's blood into a mutated girl, transforming her into a demon. However, the demon kills the scientist and releases Alexia. During her escape, Alexia confronts Xenon, who had betrayed her to become a high-ranking knight. Xenon easily defeats Alexia until Sid arrives, interrupting their duel unexpectedly. As the city faces chaos, Xenon exposes Sid as the mastermind behind the cult's recent attacks. The demon girl's rampage leads to a fierce battle with Princess Iris, but Alpha intervenes, defeating the demon with ease before disappearing mysteriously. Sid engages in a dominant duel with Xenon, captivating Princess Alexia with his unique sword style. Outmatched, Xenon transforms into a demonic form with pill-induced power, prompting Sid to deploy a magical bomb, obliterating Xenon and the mostly evacuated city. With the city safe once again, Iris and Alexia reunite. Alexia is determined to improve her sword style, now knowing Sid admires it. She offers to be his real girlfriend, but his rejection leads to her violent retribution. Meanwhile, Alpha investigates a group posing as Shadow Garden, committing crimes in their name. Iris initiates a kingdom-wide inquiry into the cult of Diablos and Shadow Garden. Amidst the chaos, Sid encounters a scholarly pink-haired girl. As the false Shadow Garden continues its murderous spree, Princess Iris entrusts a recovered cult relic to the knowledgeable pink-haired student, Sherry. Unaware of her involvement with Shadow Garden, Sid's friends Poe and Skell take him to a department store owned by Gamma, one of his subordinates. Amazed by Gamma's success, Sid remains oblivious to the fact that Gamma now controls multiple stores worldwide, making him immensely wealthy. On his way home, Sid comes across Alexia fighting murderers. He intervenes, saving her and eliminating the killers. Sid hands over one survivor to New, the newest member of Shadow Garden, for interrogation. Meanwhile, the murderer's leader, Gaunt Knight, confirms the location of the cult relic. Despite Alexia's confirmation that Shadow Garden is not responsible for the murders, Princess Iris still considers them enemies of the kingdom. Sid and his friends try their luck with love confessions, leading to humorous and unexpected outcomes. Eventually, Sid gifts chocolates to Sherry, prompting her adoptive father, Vice Principal Rustlin, to encourage her to respond to Sid's supposed love confession. New shares her findings with Sid, revealing the cult's brainwashing tactics on their foot soldiers. Meanwhile, Rex, a cult operative, is in the city on a mission. Sid's focus is divided as Skell and Poe sign him up for the Academy's sword tournament to impress girls. New misunderstands Sid's ramblings about the festival, assuming he's planning to confront Rex. During the festival, Sid faces off against Rose, the student president and a princess from a neighboring kingdom. Maintaining his secret hero persona, Sid pretends to be injured but continues the fight, showcasing his unwavering determination. Although Rose is declared the winner, she's impressed by Sid's tenacity. Sherry seeks friendship with Sid before considering a romantic relationship, but Sid has no recollection of her and decides to avoid her altogether. Sherry learns from Princess Alexia that her relationship with Sid was fake, sparking happiness in Sherry but secretly unsettling Alexia. As an election for a vacant student council seat is announced, Gaunt Knight creates an anti-magic barrier, allowing the fake Shadow Garden to take control of the academy. When Sid and Rose's classroom is attacked, Sid bravely rushes to save her, but suffers severe injuries in the process. Sid admits he sought to appear heroic by saving Rose from the terrorists, while Rose mistakenly believes it was an act of love. The students are taken to the auditorium, leaving Sid's body behind. Unbeknownst to others, Sid secretly revives and heals himself. Meanwhile, Rex attacks Sherry to retrieve the relic, but Iris's Crimson Knights come to her aid, enabling her escape. Sid, on his own mission to eliminate the terrorists, eventually reunites with and rescues Sherry. She reveals the relic generating the barrier as the Eye of Avarice, designed to absorb magic until it explodes. Sid deduces that the cult aims to kill the students to prevent them from becoming knights and interfering with their plans. Sherry's researched relic is the Eye's control unit, which she hopes can halt the explosion. To retrieve the necessary tools from Sherry's room, Sid volunteers for the task. Meanwhile, Rex informs Gaunt Knight of an unknown force killing their men, leading Gaunt Knight to suspect the true Shadow Garden's involvement. Gaunt Knight's ultimate goal is to be reinstated in the Knights of Round. Nu, one of Sid's shadows, comes face to face with her former fiancé Marco, the lone surviving Crimson Knight. Contemplating revenge, Nu ultimately decides to spare his life. Sid instructs his shadows to hold off attacking the terrorists until Sherry has the control relic prepared. Sherry successfully deactivates the Eye's barrier using the control relic. Disguised as Eminence in Shadow, Sid and Shadow Garden launch a fierce attack against the terrorists. Princess Iris, mistakenly believing Shadow Garden is responsible for the assault, becomes furious. Sid confronts Gaunt Knight, who is burning Sherry's research materials. To everyone's surprise, Sid reveals that he is Ruslan, Sherry's adoptive father. Ruslan discloses his past as a skilled swordsman who sought a cure for his illness in the eye. He killed Sherry's mother, hoping to continue the research through Sherry. Combining the eye with the control relic, Ruslan regains his lost sword skills and engages in a duel with Sid. Despite his restored abilities, Ruslan's swordsmanship remains inferior to Sid's. Ruslan boasts about framing Shadow Garden for his crimes, but Sid remains unfazed, ultimately killing Ruslan. Sherry witnesses Ruslan's demise, and in the aftermath of the attack, Shadow Garden is falsely labeled as a terrorist organization by the kingdom. Sherry reveals her decision to transfer to a scientific research academy to pursue a new goal, keeping it a secret from Sid. However, her ominous words hint at a potentially sinister objective. Alpha contacts Sid, Beta, Epsilon, and Nu with separate missions, leading them to the sacred city of Lindworm. Alexia and Iris, attending the goddess trial, visit Sid's store. A flashback reveals Sid faking his survival after defeating Ruslan to appease Rose, who desires to be his lover. Sid mistakenly thinks Rose aims to convert him to worship the goddess Beatrix, Lindworm's dominant religion. In Lindworm, Sid encounters Beta, masquerading as the famous author Natsume, who shares stories from his past life's world, such as Cinderella, Romeo and Juliet, and Star Wars. Beta delivers Sid a mission briefing encoded in an ancient language, which Rose misinterprets as Sid's interest in history and languages. Amidst their visit, a cultist murders Archbishop Drake of Beatrix Church, prompting Epsilon to eliminate one of the culprits, though the murderer escapes. Sid visits a hot spring and unexpectedly encounters Alexia. She explains the goddess trial, where challengers summon famous warrior spirits for duels. Seeking assistance with the Archbishop's murder case, Alexia asks Sid to join the Crimson Knights, but he declines, revealing himself to her as he leaves. Her investigation is later cancelled by interim Archbishop Nelson, whom Alexia suspects of the murder. Princess Alexia and Beta, like Natsume, develop an immediate dislike for each other. At the trial, many fighters are humiliated when no worthy spirits appear. Rose secretly pays Sid's entry fee to demonstrate his potential. Sid decides to participate as Eminence in Shadow to avoid revealing his true strength or faking defeat. His presence summons Aurora, the Calamity Witch, whom Nelson claims was the strongest witch in history. Witnessing this, Princess Alexia realizes the true threat Sid poses. Sid easily defeats Aurora, feeling disappointed with the lack of challenge. As he leaves, the arena barrier collapses, and a new summoning spell activates, causing a portal to follow Sid, impressing Shadow Garden. Alpha discloses her identity as an elf and Olivier's descendant, the hero who severed Diablos' arm a millennium ago. Sid enters the summoning circle and vanishes, finding himself in the sanctuary. Alpha and the rest of Shadow Garden follow, kidnapping Nelson. Princess Alexia and Rose also enter the sanctuary. Inside, Cid meets the imprisoned Aurora, trapped for 1,000 years. Upon freeing her, Aurora reveals that the sanctuary is a vast prison containing memories of every past hero. To release Aurora and others, they must destroy the magical core, erasing the memories. Traveling through the memories, Cid and the Shadows learn the cult once experimented on orphan girls with Diablo's blood to resurrect him, turning some, like Olivier, into powerful heroes. Experiments on Diablos' arm produced demonic pills, and once a year, 12 beads grant immortality to the cult's leaders, the Knights of Round, including Nelson. He transforms into a demon and scatters everyone across multiple memories, creating clones to fight the Shadows simultaneously. Epsilon discloses that she and the other Shadows brought into Shadow Garden were once girls experimented on by the cult. Cid cured them, retaining their strength while eliminating the demonic effects. In Sanctuary's archive, they steal records of the cult's experiments. Delta showcases her berserker-level strength, obliterating Nelson's copies without magic. Meanwhile, Cid and Aurora approach the sealed core, which can only be unlocked by a magic sword wielded by a hero's descendant. Nelson summons Olivier to battle Cid, but Epsilon appears with the cult's research, and all the Shadows teleport out with Alexia and Rose, leaving Nelson baffled. As Cid remains within the sanctuary, Nelson orders Olivier to kill him. During the duel, Cid finds Olivier's obedience and lack of personality tedious. Aurora decides to protect Cid, appreciating the new memories he provided her. Confident in his discovery, Cid unveils a secret of the sanctuary. Olivier pierces Cid's heart, but he smiles, revealing a changed eye. In a shocking turn of events, Cid overpowers Olivier and reveals his secret plan to a stunned Nelson. He kills Olivier without harming his vital organs, using his compressed magic within his eye to unleash an atomic bomb spell, obliterating Nelson and the sanctuary core. Cid bids farewell to Aurora, who kisses him and encourages him to search for the real Aurora. Princess Alexia and Rose decide to form a secret organization to counter both the cult and Shadow Garden. Beta, disguised as Natsume, agrees to help and spies on them. Alpha uncovers Aurora's true identity from the Sanctuary's archives. She is the demon Diabolos. Meanwhile, Shadow Garden purchases property in Madlid for a new shopping center, concealing their true intention of accessing a valuable oil field. While investigating, Alexia finds connections between the Beatrix Church and the cult. Iris plans to ascend the ranks of the Crimson Knights, starting with winning the upcoming Bushin Festival tournament to gain political power. Rose discovers the possibility of being infected with demonic blood. The highly anticipated Bushin Festival begins, attracting numerous fighters to the royal capital. Cid plans to surprise the crowd by disguising himself as weak and effortlessly defeating his opponents. With the help of magical slime makeup, Gamma transforms him into the unskilled knight, Mundane Man. Anaros, a foreign knight from the goddess trial, witnesses Mundane being beaten by Quentin before the festival begins, only to discover Cid uninjured. Meanwhile, the festival favorites include Iris, Rose, Anaros, Quentin, and an enigmatic Dark Knight. Rose confides in Cid about her forced engagement to Perv Asshat, who her father chose for her. Cid advises her to follow her heart and pursue her own happiness. During the preliminary fights, Goldie Gilded, a skilled yet arrogant knight, underestimates Mundane's abilities as he wins without moving. Anaros keenly observes that Mundane's victory was so swift that his opponent was defeated before the fight even commenced. As a result, Mundane becomes Goldie's next opponent. The next day, shocking news surfaces. Rose has stabbed Perv and disappeared. Rose's escape puts her in a suspicious light, leading to serious repercussions for inter-kingdom politics. Alexia aims to protect her, but Beta advises against interfering, suspecting that Rose is hiding in the city's underground ruins. Cid encounters an elf named Beatrix, who bears a striking resemblance to Alpha and seeks her missing niece. Meanwhile, as Mundane, Cid faces Goldie in a duel, closely watched by Anaros and Quentin, both increasingly skeptical of Mundane's extraordinary abilities. Mundane astounds them by dodging Goldie's attack with a mere neck flex, and countering with a sneeze, causing Goldie's magic to backfire, leading to his defeat. Anaros admits she cannot replicate Mundane's movements, and tensions rise as she becomes his next opponent. In the palace, Iris investigates Rose's altercation with Perv Asshat and realizes Rose did not injure him. She also suspects that Perv holds a sinister influence over the king, Rose's father. Mundane defeats Quentin in another astounding display of skill, setting up a showdown with Anaros. Sid's elder sister Claire pays a visit, but he avoids her by pretending to join Skell in the pursuit of Rose, who is wanted for a substantial reward. In reality, Sid admires Rose for her courage in escaping an unwanted marriage. While on his mission, Sid overhears the haunting melody of the Moonlight Sonata, a piece he holds dear. To his surprise, he discovers Epsilon is the skilled pianist behind the music, using her talent to build connections in the Oriana Kingdom. Princess Alexia and Beta suspect that Rose fled after uncovering Perv's true identity as a cultist who manipulates the king with dark magic, rendering him incapacitated. They venture into the underground ruins to find Rose. Suffering from her infected blood, Rose contemplates surrendering to prevent Oriana from being dragged into a war. However, she encounters Eminence, who cures her infection and grants her newfound power before vanishing mysteriously. As cult soldiers close in on her location, Rose decides to part ways with Princess Alexia and Beta, determined to face her battles alone. Beta, realizing that this was Sid's plan all along, is pleased with the development. Back at home, Sid finds an irate Claire waiting for him, a consequence of his escapades. Claire punishes Sid for neglecting her and reveals that she has taken Rose's place in the festival. She insists that Sid watch her performance from VIP seating. During the festival, Sid sits beside Iris, and they discuss the mysterious Dark Knight competitor Beatrix, who turns out to be Alpha's aunt and the first champion of the festival. Sid sneaks away to duel Anaros disguised as Mundane. Despite Anaros' efforts to match his speed, Mundane emerges victorious. This sparks Princess Iris's determination to defeat him in the next match. Meanwhile, Perv, who has taken an interest in hiring strong warriors, investigates Mundane, but finds no connection to Shadow Garden. He also expresses confidence that Rose will return to marry him. After the duel, Anaros thanks Mundane for showing her how to improve and invites him to work for her country's government. But he declines the offer. Sid looks forward to facing Iris in the next match and plans to disappear mysteriously after his victory, aiming to become a legend. Sid sits beside Princess Iris and Beatrix to watch Claire's match. Meanwhile, Perv continues his sinister plans by drugging the king and hoping that Rose will attempt to save him. He also plots to have the king publicly assassinate Princess Iris and Princess Alexia's father, the King of Midgar, to spark a war. Claire wins her match, but she's angered by Sid's absence from the audience. Iris, now facing Mundane in the next duel, has terrifying premonitions of him defeating her with a single counterattack. These visions come true as Mundane swiftly disarms and defeats her, leaving her in shock. Rose manages to infiltrate the VIP area with the help of Shadow Garden. Perv becomes furious when she kills her own father, who had been under his control. Rose contemplates taking her own life, but Mundane intervenes, revealing himself to be the Eminence in shadow. He swiftly eliminates Perv's men and unveils his true identity. Rose recognizes him as the boy known as Stylish Ruffian Slayer from her past. She reveals that when Sid was training as a child, he saved her by defeating bandits who had kidnapped her, inspiring her to pursue swordsmanship. Despite her desire to die, Rose manages to escape once again. Beatrix, who had longed for a fight against Mundane, finally realizes that the Eminence is actually a wanted terrorist. She engages him in a duel, setting the stage for a thrilling and intense confrontation. Alpha approaches Rose and extends an invitation to join Shadow Garden, which she gladly accepts. As the intense duel between Beatrix and the Eminence rages on, Princess Iris joins the fray to confront him. The battle escalates, spanning across the city, and the Eminence once again threatens with his destructive atomic attack. However, just before detonation, he mysteriously vanishes, leaving Iris and Beatrix shocked and determined to seek vengeance. Back at the capital, Perv faces the consequences of his failure and pleads for forgiveness from his master. Beatrix, saddened by her inability to find her missing niece, leaves the city. Meanwhile, Sherry, consumed by her desire for revenge, hears news of the Eminence's attack and vows to one day kill him. With the Eminence now exposed to the world, Shadow Garden gears up to support Cid further, hoping he will take on a more active role in leading their organization. Alpha guides Rose to the monster-infested mountains near Cid and Claire's childhood village, revealing it as Shadow Garden's secret base. Rose transforms, shedding her previous identity and becoming Soldier 666, clad in the distinctive slime suit of Shadow Garden's operatives. Meanwhile, Cid spends some time in the capital's underground playing the Moonlight Sonata on a stolen piano. Satisfied with his role-playing with Princess Iris and Lady Beatrix, he eagerly anticipates the games which are yet to come.